Jake here for American Trucks, and in this video we're taking a look at the Edge Evolution CTS3 tuner fitting 2003 to 2014 5.7 liter Ram 1500. If you're looking for a way to make the most out of your Hemi-powered Ram, the Edge Evolution is a great way to get it. Packing more power, lots of customizability into a sleek package is the name of the game here, and this is a really complete package that will get you the updates you've been looking for and the power you want without having to compromise. Jumping right on in, we installed this on our 2014 Ram 1500 you see behind me, and we ran it on our dyno to see what kind of difference this can make. Now, we dynoed our truck in 4th gear with 93 octane in the tank, and our stock runs came out to about 273 horsepower at 5,300 RPM and 273 pound-feet of torque at 3,600 RPM. Now, after getting the Evolution installed and booted up, we loaded up the Performance Tune onto our truck and saw 340 horsepower at 5,100 RPM and 354 pound-feet of torque at 5,000 RPM, giving us peak gains of 67 horsepower and 81 pound-feet of torque, which is a huge jump over stock. Now, curve gains were also impressive, and as you can see from the graph here, we saw gains pretty much all the way through the rev range, with the biggest ones happening around the 5,000 RPM mark, with up to 85 horsepower and 89 pound-feet of difference over stock. Now, those are some really impressive numbers for a preloaded tune, but it is worth mentioning again that we ran our truck in 4th gear. It's not the ideal 1-to-1 ratio, and we did that so that we had a clean run all the way up to redline without hitting our dyno speed limiter. Now, we're also measuring power and torque at the wheels, not the crank, so figure there's going to be some drivetrain loss built into our numbers here. Now, your results may vary, but expect some pretty noticeable gains overall, and I can tell you from being in the truck on the dyno, it certainly felt stronger and much more rowdy than it did in stock form. I even had to stop one of my runs because the transmission downshifted and I got some wheel spin, which is not what you want, but it gives you an idea of how much firepower this little thing is packing. The Evolution CTS3 gives you the option to switch between multiple different performance levels to really fine-tune how your truck responds. Now, these tunes vary and each has a different focus: economy, towing, throttle response, and outright performance. Now, unlike other tuner modules, you can also make some adjustments on the fly, and it makes it easy to manipulate the settings as the situation changes. Now, this tuner is also going to save your stock calibration, meaning you can easily return your truck to stock at any time should you need to do so. And this is a great kit that gives you a lot of information and flexibility right at your fingertips. It provides a full complement of information as you drive, things you don't normally see in your instrument cluster, like intake air temperature and exhaust gas temperature and more. Now, you can also alter all different kinds of parameters by diving into the menus and the tunes. So you'll be able to adjust for larger tire sizes, different gear ratios, different tire pressure monitor system settings as well, and you can do things like disable the MDS cylinder deactivation system on these Hemis, so the truck will run on all 8 cylinders all the time, because the stock tuning on that is pretty aggressive with the shutoff. Now, this monitor is also adjustable. You get multiple different gauge layouts and color options to suit your taste, which just adds to the customizability. And it supports data logging as well, so you can save information from your drives or dyno runs. Makes it easier to keep an eye on your engine's health. Now, you can also export that information for easier viewing too. And this essentially functions as a tuner, a programmer, and an additional gauge pack, and it's pretty darn good at all of those things, as you've no doubt picked up on by this point. And on top of all of that too, you also get to do things like performance tests such as 0 to 60, 0 to 100, quarter mile, and eighth mile, and you can read and clear diagnostic trouble codes, which is very helpful should you end up with a check engine light at some point. Updates are also easy thanks to the built-in Wi-Fi, and once it's set, it's very easy, worry-free setup. And you can update this using the included USB cable and the free software that comes with it as well. Now, Edge also builds in support for their expandable accessory system, so you can add other sensors like an exhaust gas temp sensor and others to get more information and more complete information about what your truck is doing. Now, this also has support for a backup camera should you want to add that to your truck too, and again, it is through that Edge system, so it plugs right on in, no wiring necessary. Now, the whole setup is also fully reversible, so should you need to set your truck back to stock at some point, you can do that easily without having to take additional steps. Now, the big highlight with construction here is the Insight CTS3 monitor. This is a large 5-inch full-color capacitive touchscreen, and it's going to plug right into the OBD2 port under the dash. It's simple, it's clean, it's pretty easy to use, and the resolution is great too, so you can easily see necessary information at a glance. There's even a light sensor built in too, so this will dim in low light. And it's a good size as well, so even if you have to pay extra to see like I do, won't be an issue once this is mounted up in the truck. It also comes with the windshield mount and all the cables that you need need to get everything plugged in and working too, so it's pretty much ready to go right out of the box. Pricing comes in at about $675, which is a pretty darn good value considering the quality and all the features you get here. And let's not forget about the monitoring capabilities and the power increase as well. Think of it this way, you'd pay at least that much, if not more, for a set of auxiliary gauges and a tune, and this setup gives you all that plus a lot more customizability built in. So you're really, again, getting a good value for your money. Installation is going to get an easy 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and it should take you about an hour to complete. Now the CTS3 here just plugs into your OBD2 port underneath the dash with this cable that's included, and it's pretty much ready to go. You're going to spend some time getting the tunes loaded up. It does take a little bit of time, as you'll see with this truck here behind me, and you'll spend some time too routing the cable and playing around with settings to get this set up the way you want it. But with that though, let's hop on over to the truck and we'll show you how to get it done. All right everyone, it is time now to install the Edge CTS3 on our 2014 Ram here. So before we actually get to programming the truck and putting the tune on it, we gotta do a couple of things. Now you might notice in some of our shots, we have the truck plugged into a battery tender. So before you start this process, it's really important to make sure that your battery is either A, in very good health, or B, is plugged into a charger so it maintains the power all the way through, because this does take quite a bit of time to get everything programmed, so the truck needs to rely on its battery power. So with that said, we're gonna do a couple of things here. On the back of the programmer, we're gonna take our cable. This basically looks like an HDMI cable. It only goes in one way, so we're gonna plug it in right there like that. We can let this drop and fall away because we're gonna route this and plug it into the OBD2 port in a moment. Next, we're gonna take the included windshield mount. This again only goes one way. You just slide it in right there, push it until it clicks into place, and then you can adjust with this little collar here, and we'll use this to suction cup it to the windshield. So let's go ahead and do that now. We'll route our cable and plug it in, and then we can get to the fun part, which is going through the menus and programming the tune onto the truck. Mounting this up is pretty easy. We're just gonna select a spot on the windshield that we like, push the suction cup up, and then using this little tab here, click it up until it locks. And then we can adjust the monitor itself using the collar just like that. All right, now that we've got our monitor up on the dashboard where we want it, we're gonna go ahead and take the OBD2 cable and plug it into the OBD2 port right here underneath the dash. All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this excess cable and we're gonna put it up underneath of the dash. Now you can do this kind of whichever way you want. We're gonna have to maneuver some things around for our purposes to get this on film, but the main gist of it is I'm gonna take a zip tie here. I'm gonna ravel this cord up a little bit, try and get it nice and tight, and I'm just gonna zip tie that off. I'll take my snips and cut off the excess. And then we're gonna go ahead and kind of fish this up underneath of the dash. I'm leaving some slack on this side, again, because we're gonna maneuver this around a little bit. The thing you wanna make sure with these trucks especially is that you're clearing your emergency brake pedal and the emergency brake release. So we're gonna get it nice and tucked up in there, and I'll take another zip tie, and I'm just gonna tie it up onto this other harness that I have. Okay, so we're gonna make sure that we can clear our emergency brake pedal and our release right here. So I'm just gonna take this little loop of cable right up here, and I'm gonna take another zip tie, go around this harness that we have here, and go around this harness right up here, and we'll just tighten this up. And we'll get that nice and out of the way. And we can snip off the excess. And again, we'll just pull this cable right over here. And we're leaving a little bit of slack in here because I'm gonna move that monitor for us later. And this is, again, we're clearing everything. We're clearing all of our pedals down here. Nothing is gonna interfere. Again, you can take this up, pull out as much slack of this as you want. This is just gonna do for our purposes for right now. So with that done, let's head up and we'll start poking around in the monitor and get this thing tuned. All right, now we've gone ahead and moved this over a little bit so it's easier for you all to see on the camera. But now that it is plugged in, we've got our truck powered on in the run position. The engine is not started, but the truck accessory power is on. We've reached our main menu. So we're gonna dive right in here and start with the selection on the top left-hand side, which is the tuning portion. So this is just easy capacitive touchscreen. Give it a minute to get it loaded up. And now you have a couple of options here. We're gonna dive in first with tuning the vehicle. So we're gonna select that one. and it's going to give us a bunch of different options here. Now you can do kind of whatever you want, and each one has a little information icon on here to give you some info about it. So for example, that one is saying 87 and up octane gas is required. Now our truck runs 93, so we're not going to have to worry about that. We're going to go down here and we're going to select our performance tune. So it'll ask you to hit continue, and basically from here you're just going to follow the prompts. So this is going to require some additional things, because what it's going to do is save our stock tune. So again, like it says on here, make sure you've got some time to do this, and make sure you have everything else off. So I'm going to double check our headlights are off. Everything else that I can turn off is turned off in the truck. So we'll hit continue. And again, this is just going to have you go through a bunch of prompts. So this is going to save our original setting on the PCM right here in the unit, so you can go right back to stock. All right, now that we're through that, it's asking us to turn the ignition off. So we'll click the key off, touch the screen to continue. Gonna give it a second, and we're gonna turn our ignition back on again without starting the engine, and we'll touch the screen to continue. Give this a second. You're gonna hear some things clicking under the hood. And this is gonna go through and apply stage 1 here. There's a couple of these stages that we have to go through. Again, these do take a while, so just have some patience. Make sure you have some time set aside, and that your truck's in a place where you don't have to move it during this time, because once we start this process, you definitely don't want to have to move this. All right, now we've reached the end of that. We're going to do the same thing we did before. Again, just following the prompts on the screen. So I'm going to turn the ignition off, touch the screen to continue. All right, and we'll turn the ignition back on. We'll hit the screen again to continue. And now we're going ahead and now it will be applying the second stage of this. Again, just have some patience. We're going to have to go through this sort of thing a couple of more times. And then once we have the 2 on, we'll show you some of the other features of the monitor here. All right, we're back again at this screen now that it's done. Again, same deal as before. Turn the ignition off and touch the screen. All right, and ignition back on. This is just again saving our stock file. Should be about ready. Yes, and now we're here at the point where we can make some customizations before we install the tune. So if you want to install the tune as is, you can just hit install and go right ahead. But for our sake here, we're going to go through customize and show you some of the other parameters we can change. All right, so there's a bunch of different things on here. So tires, if we want to change your tire size to adjust for larger wheels and tires, we're keeping ours as stock, so we're just going to go back here. The MDS system or the multiple displacement system, you can toggle this on or off here. We're again going to leave ours on. We're not going to make any other changes to the truck. We're going to run it apples to apples as is. We have some other switches in here. This one is going to be your traction control. So if you want to permanently disable traction control, you can do that here as well. Changing your limiters, you have your speed limiter, your rev limiter in drive. So if you want to up the rev limit on the truck, you want to up your rev limiter in neutral so it doesn't tap out at like 3,500 or 4,000 or whatever these trucks do. You can do that as well. Here you have a built-in throttle booster. So instead of applying a separate throttle controller or something like that you have to leave plugged in, you can make that change here as well with the Edge. Now again, we're leaving ours completely stock, so we'll go back. You can also change when your high fan kicks on here. We're going to leave ours at the stock temperature, but again, you can just turn that on. You also have the option for the AC off, or when your AC is on up here as well. Then we have more intricate stuff like the wide open throttle fueling. So if you want to change your fuel mapping, I wouldn't suggest doing this unless you're really intimately familiar with your truck and what this actually does. But you can get some additional information by touching that here, and you can change the fueling at different points in the rev range. Again, we're not touching any of that. Now they do recommend that you keep this at the same percentage that you do that wide open throttle fueling like we just had in the menu. We're gonna go back again, we're not gonna change that. You have wide open throttle spark, again, same deal as before. And go back. We can also change the idle speed in drive or in park and neutral with the AC on or the air conditioning off. Again, we're leaving ours as is, we're not changing anything here. And that is our last parameter that we can change right now. So we're just gonna hit skip because we didn't change any of these things. And it's gonna just give us a prompt about the adjustments that we've made. Again, we're installing our tune as is, so we're just going to hit yes. And it's gonna give us a list of all the stuff that we changed. Again, we didn't adjust anything else outside of here, so we're selecting the performance tune, and we're gonna hit accept and install. Now this is gonna write the tune to the PCM on the truck, and we'll be making some more power hopefully after this. Just like before, we're gonna do the same thing. Turn the ignition off, touch the screen and continue. And then right back on. Give it a second to stop bonging. Touch the screen again to continue. Same deal. Ignition off. Touch the screen. And back on. And we'll touch the screen again. All right, and now we've got the message, our vehicle has been successfully tuned, so we're gonna hit continue to go back to the main menu. Now we can take a look at some of the other stuff that we have available in here. So moving over, we have our performance tests. So as always with things like this, make sure you perform it in a safe space that is a closed environment and not out on the roads, but you have things like your 0 to 60, 0 to 100, quarter mile, and your 1/8 mile too. So we'll just click in here and see what this looks like. And this is gonna give you your time and your speed. You can hit start or you can hit it from stop. So this will go automatically when you nail it. So we're gonna go back here and show you some of the other stuff. So we've exited and we've gone back to our main menu here. A few other things that we wanna take a look at. Settings obviously is just the settings for the display device itself. So you can change display settings, colors, things like that. If you wanna do that, you can change all these through here. You've got some other things like your Wi-Fi setup. Now this unit does have integrated Wi-Fi, so if you want to download updates via the Wi-Fi or get tune updates and things like that, that way you can do this as well. You can also plug it into the computer and download your updates that way as well. The software is free. Here you can check for updates, change your unit of measure, restore to defaults, change alerts, change things about the vehicle and tire size, and all of that too. So we are going to go back to our main menu here and take a look at some of the other stuff. Now this one on the bottom right here, the EAS settings. So this is for Edge's different modules. So if you wanted to plug in, say, an exhaust gas temperature sensor, they make one that will plug in right on the bottom of this cord. It's just a plug and play module. You don't have to do any wiring or run a separate gauge for it. And this will allow you to have those integrated here and see the readings on the screen here. Now again, we don't have any of those plugged in, so we're just gonna hit continue and it'll take us back. Diagnostics is gonna show us our engine trouble codes. So we're gonna click in here and see if we've got any. Lucky for us, we don't have any available, but you can click on those. You can also just clear them right here as well. So again, this is not gonna have any. We'll just continue and go back. And then back to our main menu again, you have the gauges and data logging section. So this is gonna be if you wanna utilize this and monitor different information, it's gonna bring up this cool display that will show you some stuff that you won't otherwise see on your dashboard. So now we have our speed right here. We've got our battery readout, we've got our fuel level, it gives us the gear indicator, our intake air temperature, and a few other things. Now, by touching on this screen here, you can change some stuff as well. Swiping down will give you some options. Now, right at the top left here, that is your record button. So if you want to hit record and start data logging for a dyno run or a drive or something like that, you can do that as well. You can change your wallpaper. You can change the theme if you want to do that. It gives you some different options for that. Again, we're not going to mess around with it. You can play around and do whatever it is that you like. You can also, from this setting, change your layout. So if you want to change layout or what is displayed on here, you have the option to do that as well. And again, you can play around with this. It'll give you a tutorial each time. So we'll go through and you see there's a couple of different options. So you can do your regular one like we had here that you already saw. You can do a slightly different one that's a bit more analog looking, or one that is just a bunch of different readouts. So we can change that if we want to do it. And it'll give you a bunch of different things that you can do. So again, you can scroll through. Here's an off-road one, so it's got pitch and roll in it. Another one with that same type of thing. One, again, that's a little bit more analog looking. And again, you can just kind of do whatever you want. We're just gonna leave ours as is for now. But again, you can play around with that. Going back, this is gonna bring us back to our gauge screen here. And one other thing that's worth noting is that if you swipe up from the bottom here, you can access the different menu settings. So if you wanted to pop over to tuning or diagnostics or something like that, you can do that very easily from here, or you can just hit it and go back to home. So we'll go back to home, and that kind of brings us through all of the settings. Mess that up. We can swipe up from the bottom here. And that'll take us to our different menus, or we can just go back to home. And that kind of runs us through all of our different settings. Now, one more thing I do want to cover while we're in here is resetting the truck back to stock. So should you need to do that for some reason, you're just going to go right back into tuning like we were before. And in that same menu, you'll see this option pop up in the center, Restore Vehicle. So if you hit that, it's gonna ask you if you wanna restore your vehicle back to its factory settings. You're just gonna follow the prompts just like you did when you loaded the tune up to the truck. It's pretty straightforward and easy to go through, as you can see. So with that, we're gonna go back to our main menu, and that'll wrap it up for this. That's gonna wrap it up here for our review, install, and dyno test of the Edge Evolution CTS3 tuner fitting 2003 to 2014 5.7 liter Ram 1500s. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Ram, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.